Hello everyone, this is Rachel with CommanderCast.com, here with another update to the Alpha Build with Avacyn Guardian Angel. This time, we're on Tempest. That's right, we're on the first set that Mark Rosewater, current head designer of R&D over at Wizards of the Coast, first led. He co-led us with Richard Garfield. He had a couple of really talented people working on this, and they just crammed a lot of great stuff. And there ended up being a lot of great stuff for us. This ended up having 13 card slot updates. That's officially the second biggest one. It actually beats last week's Weatherlight update. There we go. So let's go ahead and get right into what we get to take in. So go ahead and scroll over to the lands. Ancient Tomb. It's a land that taps for 2 colorless and it deals 2 damage to you. It's a nice little bit of mana acceleration, gets you ahead of a whole of a turn. Now, I'm just going to show you guys real quick. There's nothing crazy going on here. Tempest is in fact the place where Wasteland got printed, but on Mono, that's it's almost a $30 card, even for digital. And I am going to get that. I'll have to wait till next month with next month's patron donation, though. So we'll be looking forward to that. Assuming nothing else super pricey comes out. But I'm going to try and get a little bit better about budgeting out, the cards that are coming out, the cards that are going to come into sets. I'm going to start getting the next 2 sets worth at one time. So it'll be a nice chance for me to record both of the review videos that I should be putting up. If you're a patron on the CommanderCast Network Patreon, then you'll get a chance to see those because those are Patreon exclusive. So we do have the Ancient Tomb. Wasteland will be coming in next month, which will be easy enough. We'll just take out another basic plans for it. We're actually to the point now where we have more or less a pretty uniform idea. I actually like the whole either Innistrad lands, which we just happen to have, or some sort of shining sun in the background. Gets that really nice halo effect, which I think actually goes very well with the Avacyn Guardian Angel. R.I.P. Avacyn, you are bae. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the rest of the... Come on. Slide over. That's not sliding over. There we go. And I'm not going to be bothering editing any of that out. So let's go ahead and get to the bread and butter of what we have here today. Alright, so first off, we have Flickering Ward. This is a pretty staple card that you would see in the new Black-White Daxos deck, just because it's a white mana aura. When it enters the field, you can choose a color. The enchanted creature has protection from the chosen color. This effect does not remove Flickering Ward. Very important, because if you give it pearl white, then white auras will fall off. Flickering Ward prevents that. But it also has pay white, return Flickering Ward back to its owner's hand. So if you're playing Black-White Daxos, the idea is that, for 2 mana, you just get a free experience counter, more or less. With Avacyn, it's going to help reset her protection. So what we found with the Ward of Lights is that the protection from a color is actually a really great effect for this deck to have. One, because it gives Avacyn evasion to punch people and actually get their on commander damage, which is one of our primary win conditions for this deck. But the other thing is that it combos fantastically with Veteran Bodyguard and Keldorn Royal Guard, since that means that if we play people who are using monocolor decks, 2-color decks, or they just have a bunch of plant tokens from their Avengers in the card, then we can basically do what they're already supposed to be doing with Avacyn. So we have a nice little connection link right there. I love that a lot. So now we have a little bit of redundancy between Flickering Ward and Ward of Lights. They kind of do different things. Ward of Lights can act like a protection spell, and we can put it on other people. We can go ahead and put Flickering Ward on something else too. We can go ahead and if someone suited up their commander, let's say a Bruna, we'll say, has enchanted everything on there. We can go ahead and stick a Flickering Ward on her, and then she'll lose all her white ores. And then we can bounce it back, put it on her, and she'll lose all her blue ores. And we can go ahead and put it back on and declare whichever one we don't want her getting back again. And that'll keep her from, getting all those ores back on, which is actually a really cool piece of tech. A little bit corner case, but still really cool nonetheless. And again, like I said, it's going to help enable Avacyn to get it in there. We can even put it on Sidar Jabari to help him get through, and he can tap down the bigger things and help Avacyn get in there, even while punching some more things. And as we saw, Sidar Jabari is good at mowing down tokens otherwise. So yeah, we have some. So really excited to have the Flickering Ward here. We actually have some a bit of an enchant of Voltron something building up here. Only the The Imperial Armor actually buffs a significant power level, but we do have enough auras in here that it makes me think that we'll want to go into a white enchantress type build potentially. White enchantments do kind of go hand in hand already, so we'll see what kind of enchantment support we can get soon enough. So the other thing we have in our one slot is something that I think is really cool, Sacred Guide. It's a 1/1 human cleric for 1. You can pay 2 and sack Sacred Guide, reveal cards from the top of your library, and to reveal a white card. Put that card into your hand, exile all the cards revealed this way. We're playing a mono white deck. So we take a look at our artifacts, and, you know, they're artifacts. You know, you would prefer to not lose them forever. But honestly, the fact that she can turn into any one of our cards, any one of our white cards, or even just get through a huge land pocket, that's big. That is really big. It means that if we just need to keep digging for something, we can just dig for something. And you'll see that she actually goes very well with, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and get to this now, since we are going on to the 2 slot, the Scroll Rack. You know, the Scroll Rack also comes in Tempest, and it's a very powerful addition when you combine it, when you combo it with land tax. The idea being that you can search your deck for 3 lands, put them into your hand, then draw your card for turn. Then Scroll Rack is going to put all those lands you just searched, minus whatever you would need for your land drop, put them back on top of your deck in exchange for cards that are probably going to be spells, and you just draw spells. So we can end up using the Sacred Guide to just go through a whole bunch of lands, get those out of the way, and just be set on spells. You know, there's just... I really think this card is cool. If you were to combine it with like some sort of a white reanimator engine, you would just guarantee a spell every turn. That's really cool. I'm excited to play with this card. As well as the Scroll Rack in question, which we already talked about the land tax interaction, and that's really all it's here for. I took that out the J-Loam Tome for the Scroll Rack, just because J-Loam Tome I wasn't really excited to keep around. Like, it was supposed to be good utility. We just didn't see it enough to see that utility. The Scroll Rack at least is a known combo with the land tax, and it's a whole mana cheaper, so there is that too. But other things that we have here in the 2 slot, Master Decoy. Master Decoy is a bit of a nostalgia trip for me, because when I first started playing, quote-unquote, playing Magic, when I first started getting Magic cards, my first thing that I got was a 9th edition, a white starter deck. And of course, it promised me, you know, soldiers and armies and angels and stuff like that. And the Angel of Mercy that came with it was not the most impressive thing in the world. You know, I was not impressed by that art at all. If it had the current art for the Angel of Mercy, oh my god, I would have fallen in love with it instantly. But instead it was like the vague white-robed angel, kind of Jedi mentor type task. It's okay now, but it's not my favorite thing. The Master Decoy, though, is one of the ones that first got me, you know, curious about the rules itself. You know, because I would look at it, I would go like, wait, can you actually use this on your opponent's turn? Because if you could, that would make this really good. And, you know, the only thing that gave me a hint that you could do that was the flavor text. You know, just because I didn't have anyone to teach me that, hey, yeah, you can do this on other people's turns. So it's another way to kind of control creatures. And it should be a good card to use. In theory, it should be a good card to use. You know, we're working on tapping down big things, you know, helping Avacyn push through damage, turning a chance at defense into offense because of Avacyn and all that. So Master Decoy is going to be one that I look forward to using. He's a 1/2, so he can chump block, you know, any petty tokens. And that's actually, I think it's going to be relevant. We'll see. Next up, we have Serene Offering, the other half of Divine Offering. Divine Offering is the destroy an artifact, you get life equal to square mana cost. Serene Offering is the enchantment version. So if you only want to play one or the other, you can skew it to whatever your meta is. I just like having the other one, because this one is still gain life equal to its convert mana cost. So there are going to be some really big enchantments. This is why I ended the illumination for the white counter spell that counters an artifact or enchantment spell. And I just like this better because with counter spells, if it hits the board, the counter spell is useless. But this one will at least save us and keep us from being punished when we have to tap out to make a play. Speaking of tapping out, casting spells is going to be a lot easier now thanks to the Pearl Medallion. This version comes from the Commander 2014 one, which I think is a very, very beautiful art. The original one was Tempest, though, and it's part of a cycle where the spells that correspond to the item cost 1 generic less to cast. And this is probably one of the more powerful quote-unquote ramp spells we have. One, because it brings everything down a whole mana cost less. You know, Sidar Jabari is now suddenly a sweet 3-drop. So Seraph Angel's a 4-drop. You know, these Archangel and Seraph are looking a lot more attractive as 6-drops. You know, we could drop Avacyn down on turn 4 if we wanted to, just because this would reduce the actual cost. The other thing is that the more spells we can play in a turn, the more value we get off of the Pearl Medallion. So we, you know, with like the Marble Diamond, I want to keep the Marble Diamond because it's a 2-drop artifact that makes white. But the Pearl Medallion enables more white spells to be played, if that makes sense. You know, it's going to be harder on some of these that have the double white cost, but I think that mana is going to add up over time in places where we really need. Plus, we don't have to waste time tapping it. That's always a plus, right? Yeah. And then we have another. I want to save this other tech up here real quick for the end, because I want to talk about its interaction with a couple of other cards. So, Orm's Prayer is a 3-mana enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures attack you, you gain 1 life for each attacking creature. I just like effects like this, things that scale with multiplayer. This one is obviously when they attack you, so it's kind of a rattlesnake card that people don't want to attack you and gain life, but it's also going to give us a buff against people who are just going to poke us just because we're open or there's some value in it. So, speaking of Orym, here she is! Orym Semi-Healer! You know how I feel about legendary creatures. I love playing them. I love trying to assemble my own mini, you know, Justice League or Avengers, or pick your team up. Pick your, you know, crossover team up, whatever. So, Orym Semi-Healer is a 3-mana, 1/3 human cleric. She taps to prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. So, she's a healing salve. But she's a reusable healing salve. And she is another white creature. She comes down early enough. The 1/3 is big enough to keep, like, Psalm Simulacrums off of us without letting them draw the card and all that. So, the body's not irrelevant early game. More importantly, I just kind of want to see, you know, we had high hopes for Healing Salve. Maybe if it's on a body, it would be alright. And again, she's in here primarily because I always look for excuses to run legendary creatures. Speaking of which, the Rashida Scalebane, you know, the tap destroy dragon gain power, I ended up just having to cut that one just to make room. I was hoping that she would make a bigger splash during her time with us, but unfortunately that just wasn't meant to be. But that's okay. We actually have a higher creature count than we've had in quite a while. We have 19 creatures. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So Orym's Prayer, Orym Semi-Healer. Speaking of higher creature count, that's partially because of these two guys. One, Cloud Chaser Eagle. How do I not see Cloud Chaser Eagle in more decks? Like, it's a 4-mana 2/2 flyer, which isn't great, but when he enters the battlefield, he destroys target enchantment. That's that's a half disenchant on a blinkable reusable body in mono white. I mean, let's see. I'm trying to think if there was a. Let's see. I think there's probably like a priest or something that does it for 3 mana, but this is a flyer that does it. You know, I'm probably War Priest. I'm probably thinking of like War Priest or something. It's like a 2 mana or a 3 mana 2/2 that does it, and that's perfectly legit. But this is a bird. Look at this verb. He destroys an enchantment when he enters play. That is value, my friends. That with this guy in our graveyard, that make the turns like Breath of Life, Miraculous Recovery. I thought we had another revival spell, Resurrection. You know, that's like 3 things that turn into 2 for once when we bring this guy back and we just blow up like someone's Mirari's Wig. Look at this burb. He's gonna be a good burb. And he's accompanied by the Marble Titan. So Marble Titan is a 3/3 for 4. So it's a hill giant. But he's a hill giant with upside. Or downside, depending on how you look at it. He says, creatures with power of 3 or greater don't untap during the controller's untap step. Where have we heard that before? Well, it turns out that this is a Meek Stone on a stick. You know, the Meek Stone's a 1-mana artifact, so it's pretty cheap to use. It's pretty easy to cast. It comes with all the restrictions of the artifact. We're making it a little more fragile by turning it into a creature here, because I did just straight up cut the Meek Stone for the Marble Titan. Meek Stone was putting in some good work. But this is a chance to increase our creature count and put it on a body. Not just that, but a body that we have a little easier time getting back if something happens to it. We have Resurrection, Breath of Life, and Miraculous Recovery, and the Angelic Renewal. So we have 4 ways to get it back as opposed to the Argivian find. And we ended up cutting the Argivian archaeologist. So we just have more ways to get this guy back. He's a 3/3 buy, so not really going to be attacking with him. He would just stay tapped by his own effect anyway. But he is there. He is a body now. He can block. He can actually be on defense. Avacyn can protect him. And it's just these two are the first examples of really putting effects on bodies, and it feels a lot better than just running the straight thing that they are. So the 13th card that we have here, we have Lucky 13 here. Stupid Wasteland being expensive, could have made it 14. Winds of Wrath. With the slight increase in Aura theme, this could be a pretty good one-sided Wrath. It's 5 mana, destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted. They can't be regenerated. So we can go ahead and chant Avacyn. Next turn, Winds of Wrath. Boom. Everything else but Avacyn is destroyed. Our investment is safe. We're good to go, fam. Woo! So, not the biggest update. Mirage still holds the biggest update with 18, I believe. I'm going to double check that real quick. What was it? Vision? Mirage? Yeah, Mirage. No, 17. It's 17. 17 is still the new number to beat. But Mirage, followed by Tempest, followed by Weatherlight. Those are our 3 biggest updates. And they've all come within like the 5. They've all been within a block of each other. So that is really good. That's a big progress for Magic. It means that we're going to have more videos like that. Hopefully more videos like this where we can see a lot more of the better cards making it into the deck and giving us a higher bump. Because we did actually win a game last time. Hopefully we can do that again this time. So real quick, going over the different cuts that we made. Let's see. We already went over the plans, the Mixed Stone, the Jalom Tome, Illumination, yep. ABS ended up coming out for the Cloud Chaser Eagle. It was just one of those flavor of the week cards. Sacred Mesa, I ended up cutting, not because I think it's a bad card, but because I wanted to try some other things. I don't think this is quite the deck for Sacred Mesa. Sacred Mesa would probably be a lot better than like the Daxos build and a lot of the tokeny enchantment builds. And unfortunately, we're just not positioned right to have a token deck yet. We just aren't. Along those lines, we also took out the Akashian Town, the 6 mana, put 4 1/1s into play. We're just not positioned to have a token deck right now. Ivory Tower and Library of Lang, I didn't want to cut initially, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I just wasn't pulling the combo off. We've only got one way to actually search for them, which is the Enlightened Tutor, and that just wasn't enough. We're not drawing enough cards. We're not digging enough. Maybe we could have done it with the Scroll Rack, but they're just other cards I want to try out. Those cards are going to go onto the watch list, so they have a chance of coming back if we get more tutors and stuff out. We're just not going to worry about them right now. The important thing is that the big thing was that those cards in particular, they just weren't doing enough on their own. Like, Ivory Tower, we weren't frequently getting a hand size big enough. The Library of Lane, the same thing, we weren't getting a big enough hand for it. Now, Ivory Tower could come back. Library Lane, probably not, especially since we can get Reliquary Tower later on. Granted, it's much later on, but we can't get it later on, so it's a shame, but what are you going to do? Already mentioned Shitta Scalebane. Wall of Swords ended up coming out for the Master Decoy. One, because the Wall of Swords is, well, it's the Wall of Swords. It's a 3/5. It's going to keep a couple things off of us, but nothing was really wanting to swing at us to begin with. The Master Decoy at least has more utility. And the Mana Vault. With the increase of Mana Rocks, I think we can safely take the Never Gonna Untap It Mana Vault out. Especially since the Permadown is just kind of sweeter. So the great thing about this update was that there were a lot of kind of easy, actually, 1-for-1s to make. It wasn't I need to figure out what the ratios I want are. No, it's more or less no, this card either does something similar enough that it feels a lot better to play, or this card just wasn't performing, and I could easily just try out something else new in the slot. So this was a very easy, very good update to run. So let's go ahead and see it in practicality. Let's go ahead and go into game number 1. Stay tuned.